Hey everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood Lamberman here. Welcome back to another Windows Mixed Reality video. Today we are playing Hotdogs, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, which is a pretty cool gun range simulator. Now a lot of you have been pretty keen to see a test on this game, to see just how well it runs on Windows Mixed Reality. And there are two main areas that we're going to be testing it on. Firstly is what guns do and don't work. So with this game, you actually have to use the gun like you would in real life, which means like pulling the slides, inserting the magazines, all that kind of thing. And this requires your hands to be really close and a lot of small movements together. And with the size of the controllers, it doesn't really work too well with a lot of the pistols and some of the sniper rifles. So we're going to go through and try out a bunch of different guns, find out what works, what doesn't, some tips to make it work better, and some suggestions that the game could be adapted to work better on Windows Mixed Reality. The second area that we're going to be testing out is the accuracy of the controllers when you're doing two-handed aiming or just one-handed aiming. A lot of people are curious to see if the controllers have any noticeable jitter, or if they handle fine movements, or even just having like your hands like up to your sights. Because it's a visual based system, do the hands occlude each other and cause tracking issues? So without further ado, let's jump right into Hotdogs, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. Alright, so here we are inside Hotdogs, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, and so I have jumped into the modular range because this has quite a nice little mini game that I can use to show off aiming the guns. So let's talk about the pistols. Now the pistols are where most of the issues happen. So I have my pistol here, got my magazine. Now if I try to put this magazine in, this is where things start to get wonky. So if you can see here, the rings on these controllers are pretty massive, and a lot of the guns in this game, a lot of the interactions in this game are pretty close. Your hands are going to be pretty close. These controllers are going to be bumping into each other and, well, getting in the way of each other. So if I try to put this magazine in, I just can't because the controllers are too big. If I actually want to get it in, I've sort of got to put it upside down, line it up and let gravity do its thing. There we go. Once it's actually in, I can pull the slide back, and I can shoot without any issues. That's not an issue. It's just getting this magazine in is not the easiest. There is a way that you can make this better though, which if I jump over to my settings, under input and control options, I can switch use easy / non-physical mag loading. Switch that to yes. So before, when I was trying to load them in, this was sort of colliding with the sides of the gun. If I turn that option on, it means that this no longer collides, so I don't actually have to feed it in from the bottom. I can just like snap it in from the side, where my hands aren't colliding with each other. So, while not as realistic as the default setting, it does make pistols usable with these controllers. So as you may have noticed, this game seems to think my controllers are Oculus Rift controllers, which does create a small problem in that for this game, for the Rift, the side grip buttons, it defaults to, you gotta hold the grip button down to grab onto things. As soon as you let go of the grip button, it drops. Which compared to the Vive is like you just gotta press the button once and it toggles gripping. This is, you've got to actually hold to grip. And so because this thinks that these controllers are Rift controllers, that's the only option here. I've looked through the settings, I haven't found a way to switch it to toggle grip instead of hold grip, which can be kind of frustrating because while I do like the grip button on this better than on the Vive, it's still not quite the same as the Rifts, so it's still not the easiest to be holding down that button all the time. The option to toggle grip instead of just holding down grip would be very much appreciated in this game. So yeah, pistols, you gotta load them in from the side. That pretty much goes for all the pistols because they are so small. I haven't had any issues with using the slides on them though. That hasn't been an issue on any guns that I've tried. Revolvers don't seem to have the same kinds of issues because the chamber flips out to the side. Means you've got a little bit more space to play the game without your controllers colliding. So I just gotta bring this up. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Just got to bring it up. All the bullets snap into place. No issues there either. One thing that I do like about this headset for this game is the increased resolution. So when you're playing any game with realistically proportioned guns, including iron sights, your little sights tend to end up only being like 3, 4, 5 pixels high. On this, it's probably closer to, I don't know, 10? Which does make it easier to see them, makes it easier to aim with them. Alright, let's give this a little try. It's just a little targeting mini game. And I gotta hold this up to the left eye because it's recording what the left eye sees. So this should give you a good view as to what the sights look like. Not too hard so far. Should have like 3 more bullets in the magazine. Alright, let's reload. There we go, wave 5 of 5. Nothing too complicated. My name is... That's my name now. So I'm not noticing any jitter from the controllers themselves. Like, my hands are a little bit jittery. I just have jittery hands, which you may have noticed. But I'm not having any issues with the finer movements of aiming or the quicker ones. We will try out a two-handed rifle with a scope in just a second. So aside from the loading of the magazines, not really having too many issues with the pistol. Once you set that option, it makes it playable. Obviously not as good as playing on the Rift or the Vive, but there is a way to make it work. Alright, let's grab ourselves a rifle. Let's go. Assault rifle. Grab the MK18. This is one of my favorite guns. I mean, I don't know anything about guns really. I'm just like, this one looks cool. I like the look of it. So rifles don't have the same issues as the pistols because they're a lot bigger. You don't have to have your hands as close together to make them work. And, oops, turn the safety off. Yep, nothing too complicated there. That just works. Let's copy this. Same goes for pretty much most of the guns bigger than a pistol, is that they are big enough that your hands aren't smashing into each other. Although one type of gun that does have that issue is... Where's my snipers? Let's just put that on my waist. We'll grab the, what is it, Seiko 85. Let's grab that, grab the magazine. And so where the problem comes with this is this little bolt. So let me just load it up. It's a bit awkward to get to. It is possible to get to it. I've got to put my hands sort of a little bit strangely, and I can grab it and put it back in. But yeah, it's not the easiest of things to get to. Oops. I mean, I've gotten kind of used to it now because I've been playing this on these controllers for a bit. And once you get the hang of it, you can do it pretty quickly. It's just finding how you've got to put your hands so that you can actually grab it. That's awkward. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Oops. Same for the rest of these ones here. It's got this little lever you got to do. Once you get the hang of where you got to put your hands, you can do it pretty quickly. But yeah, it is just a little bit awkward. Alright, let's give a shotgun a try. So, let's grab... There we go. What is this one? This is the DT11 Shorty. So, again, because it's a nice big gun, you can just snap things into place without your hands colliding. Oops. No issues with that. Same goes for pretty much all these shotguns, including this really tiny one here, which is, I find it kind of funny, but also pretty cool. Even though this one is kind of small, it's still far enough away that your hands aren't hitting each other. Yeah. I just don't know how to close this one up properly. Oops, I think I broke it. I think I broke it. Oh, there we go. Shotguns, no issues. Same with tube-fed ones. Just slide in underneath. Again, everything's far enough away, no pesky hand collisions. It's making a little bit of a mess here. Let's try and clean things up a bit. Shotguns, SMGs, rifles. Support, yeah, we'll give a rocket launcher a try, but there's not going to be any issues here. It loads in from the front, so. Go. Oops. Let's grab this properly. Yeah, I would say that works. I don't know where the rocket went. Is there no collision at the very end of this tunnel? That's kind of funny. What else have we got? Let's also have a look at the SMGs quickly, because these are smaller and more pistol-sized. So, pretty much just like the pistol, you gotta have that, what was it called? Easy mag loading. You gotta have that turned on for this to work. So again, you can just load it in from the side. Where's the slide on this one? Oh, there it is. Grab the slide from here, pull it back, and you're good to go. I mean, some of them do have slides in awkward positions, and again, it's just like the rifles. You just got to find the best way to grab it. Like most of them, it is pretty much possible to actually grab them. It is just about finding out how you've got to contort your hands to do it. Now lastly, let's check out the grenades. So grenades, haven't had any issues with, even though they are kind of small. Just pull the pin, get rid of the thingy on the top. Simple. Same with the banana grenade. I love this one. Let's see, I need a utility. Patriotic matches. I can just grab one out of there. No issues there either. The things that you got to do on the grenades, like pulling out the pin, they're placed well enough that they don't collide. So let's grab another two-handed weapon. Let's see, oh, I've still got this one. We'll just use this one. Let's grab a sight for it. Attachments. Start with a reflex sight. There we go. So one of the issues that I did run into, which was more so the way I was playing the game than the game itself, is that when I'm doing the two-handed aiming, what I used to do is, let me see, where's the camera? So what I used to do is that I would hold my hands back here, which is not really where they're supposed to be. Like, I mean, it kind of works. It would have the same issues as the archery, where it would lose tracking on the backhand. And in this game, it kind of goes a bit wonky when that happens. But what I realized the other day is that most guns have a pretty big stock on the back of them. And I'm really supposed to be holding them further out here. When you're holding them further out here, you don't have any issues with them being outside your field of view. Your hands are pretty much fully tracked. And I'm not dealing with any sort of occlusion issues either. It's still being able to pick up on the front controller pretty well. even if the back controller is in the way of the sensors. It's mainly in the way of the sensor here, not the other ones. The other one is still able to pick up the front hand. So if I were to bring this up and start shooting, no issues. Let's do another sequence here. Select category. Okay. Endurance rifle, endurance pistol, intro to rifle 1. Okay, let's give that a try. Reload. Where's my sight? Really? I've just missed that last one. I forgot to reload throughout that entire sequence. Alright, so let me switch back over to here and let's turn... Where was it? Alright, let's not hide the controllers while we're grabbing the guns, so I can properly show you how it smooths out. So if I move around, as you can see, the gun's not exactly where my hands are. It's sort of smoothly moving to where they are. So this helps for when you're trying to do two-handed stuff, especially long distance aiming. It does smooth out your motions. So I mean, even though the controllers aren't jittering that much, even if they were, it would get smoothed out by the smoothing in this game. It does help get rid of like the natural hand jitter my hands have anyway. And not having any issues, there we go. Not having any issues with finer movements for aiming. It would be a lot easier if I had like a custom gun stock for my controllers. Some sort of way to hold the controllers together, because trying to do two-handed games with both your hands floating around freely is not the most accurate. I'll have to see if I can make one. I might just get some, I don't know, some sticks and tape them together. I don't know. I'll see if I can make something that works. Let's jump over to the proper sniper range, and we will give the long-range shooting a test there. Yeah, here we go. Here's a sniper rifle I prepared earlier. Okay. What have we got? There we go, one watermelon down. So yeah, doing the long, like I said, if I had a custom controller holder to hold them together, it would be a lot easier. But this doesn't feel too different from playing on a Vive. The tracking doesn't feel any different. I'm just as bad on this as I am on a Vive, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm not seeing any sort of controller jitter. Not seeing it have any issues with the finer movements, or the really tiny movements. It's mainly just the pistols and the smaller SMGs that have issues in this game. The pistols, the SMGs, and these ones here, the bolt reloading ones. Now, one way I reckon the game could be adapted to work better with these controllers is that if instead of having to actually physically collide with objects to interact with them, make it more like Robo Recall. So in Robo Recall, if I were to drop this on the ground, I wouldn't have to like bend down to pick it up. I could just point at it, press the grip, and it would fly to my hand. Something similar I think could work with this game. So instead of actually having to collide with the objects, if I were to just point at them from this distance and then do the motions, like if I grab this, then I pull my hand back out to here, I can do that fine without any issues. So if I were able to grab onto it from back here, same for with these, if I were able to just sort of like point at it and grab it, that would make this game mostly playable on Windows Mixed Reality. I don't know what you would do about the magazines. They're kind of an issue, unless you were to make it so once it collides with this area it snaps in, but that would make the game not quite as realistic, which is what this game is trying to be. It's trying to be a realistic gun range simulator. I think that could be an okay compromise to make this work on these controllers. But at least we have the option to disable the physics and load it from the side. So I don't think snapping it once it gets to the very bottom would be all too different from just loading it in from the side, like what I'm doing right now. As long as it's an option that you can turn off, obviously. Aside from that, the tracking holds up just as well as Vive. No issues with the longer distance shooting, no issues with jitter or anything. As I was saying, I do like how the resolution makes the iron sights easier to see, which I do think is an improvement over the Rift and Vive versions. And the last thing is that it just would be nice to have the option to toggle the grips instead of having to hold down. So that's Hotdogs, Horseshoes, and hand grenades. So it works mostly fine. I would say there's about a third of the guns have issues though. 2/3 of the guns work fine, and when the guns do work, I do feel as though because of the resolution they are just slightly better than playing on a Vive. But that 1/3 of the guns that has issues, that's not quite as fun. I mean, yeah, there are options to make it play better, but it would be nice if they worked. It would be nice if these controller rings were a lot smaller. Maybe that's something we'll have to wait for like version 2 for. But until then, there are ways to play this game, and there are things inside of it that still work. I guess it's up to you if you think it's worth playing, even though like a third of the content has issues. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If there are any other games that you want me to test, leave a comment down below and I'll add them to the ever-growing list of games. I want to be trying out Onward. Onward I really want to try. I mean, like, playing this sort of like two-handed weapons, long-range stuff in an arena is one thing, but doing multiplayer against other people is going to be kind of cool. I also want to see just how wonky these controllers look when they lose tracking in a multiplayer situation. If I were playing against someone in Windows Mixed Reality, I want to see how funny their hands would look once they lose tracking and they're sort of just stuck behind them. I want to try a Rec Room or a table tennis game to see how that goes. It's probably going to be similar to Gorn with the melee combat and that, which it seemed to handle fine. It'd be nice to test it out though. And yeah, if there's anything else that you want to see, something that you think will really put these controllers through their paces, I would love to know, and I will try to play it as soon as possible. So if you want to keep up to date on whenever I release these new videos, well, that's what the subscribe button is for, so I would suggest clicking on it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.